Hi friends, and welcome back to Web3 Weirdos. I'm your host, Angie I Don't Know, aka Angie. I am so excited for today's episode because we are talking about the thing that got me most excited about Web3. We're talking about the thing that I talk to about everybody else in the space. It's the thing that I tell all my friends about, and it's the thing that I genuinely think can make an actual difference, and I am so ready to let you in on it. We are talking about DAOs, aka decentralized autonomous organizations. I just want to remind you that I am learning currently, and so again, I am sharing in the process as I learn, and if I say anything that is a little off or inaccurate, feel free to just leave a comment and say, hey Angie, actually check out this article, or Angie, here's a correction. No shame, we are learning. Right now on the internet, there are only a handful of companies that basically own and dominate the entire web. So as we continue to use their products and build our businesses alongside or right on top of them, they get larger, they get more cash injections, they get more users, they get higher valuations, and we don't really get that much except for the occasional monthly upcharge on our subscription. But with DAOs, we can kind of change that. Okay, so what exactly is a DAO? Decentralized autonomous organization is a really fancy and technical way of basically saying a member-owned entity. You can think of a DAO almost like a co-op. It's not that confusing, even though we litter it with jargon. The cool thing about DAOs is that because they're member-owned and member-governed, a lot of people own the entity and they can kind of create it as they like. Right now, DAOs are being used as social clubs, universities, charities, venture capital funds, networks, art museums. It's kind of wild. The list just keeps going on, and the limit does not exist when it comes to DAOs. Before I jump into a few specific examples of existing DAOs, I think it's worth noting how they work. DAOs are decentralized, and decentralization can actually have some pretty mixed meanings. On one hand, you might think, yay, there's no ruler. On the other hand, you'll quickly learn when you join a DAO that there's always a core team in place to ensure the success of that DAO. That being said, in a DAO, the community retains ownership of the DAO in a number of different ways. For starters, members create and vote on rules that are then programmed with code into what is called smart contracts in Web3. And those smart contracts essentially automate and facilitate the governance of that entire DAO without any outside help needed. And I know that sounds like a lot of jargon, but if you take away one thing from this video, it's that DAOs are never ownerless. Decentralization does not mean that there is nobody running the show. There's always a core team, they're always going to ensure the success, and they're filled with people who typically are either paid to do the work by the DAO or voted because of their expertise into the space. Decentralization does not mean a free-for-all. For example, if I started a DAO for people who love saving cats, the members of that DAO would be able to vote on how many cats every month we save, how much money we give to different cat shelters, how much money we delegate to paying our expert team members, as well as how many shelters we decide to open for ourselves. So now that you know what DAOs are, you're probably starting to see that they can operate as a lot of different things. Because essentially they can operate like a company. If they choose to, they can operate as so many other entities. The limit does not exist when it comes to DAOs. Because a DAO can operate like a company, they have the power to do some pretty big things. And while we've seen in the past and with history that corporations tend to gobble up pretty much all the resources and big business doesn't really make things that great, the difference with a DAO is that, again, it's community governed and owned. And so there is the potential for better social impact, social good, and access. Does that mean that DAOs are the futures of an equitable and egalitarian society? Well, I always joke that I can only show people the door, but I can't have them walk through it, okay? And at the end of the day, like any tech, DAOs have the power to create an immense amount of social good. At the same time, they could create negative impacts on the community and society as a whole. It just depends on who's behind building and executing them, which is why I think it's so important to make sure we have a diverse set of people building and creating the next wave of DAOs, so we ensure that equitability is built into the fabric of what we're making. Okay, so let's talk about some of the DAOs that exist today though, because there are so many cool ones. I think before you go spin up your own, you should understand the existing space. So again, there's so many different types of DAOs. For example, Bored Ape Yacht Club as well as Friends with Benefits are two very popular social DAOs that exist today. They carry an immense amount of social clout because they offer world-class experiences and events as well as member-only programming. The cost to join some of these social DAOs can range anywhere from a couple $100s to a couple $100,000. And again, that sounds wild, but the sooner you get in, the lower the cost. The high costs tend to be because people are reselling their access and they're jacking up the rates. And so again, that's why it's important to get in the space early so you get the best access to the space. On the completely other end of the spectrum, we have free social learning DAOs like CCS, aka Crypto, Culture, and Society, which aims to study the impact of crypto on culture and society. They are operating almost like a university, which starts to put so many light bulbs in my mind about what can be done with a DAO in terms of social impact and access. Another DAO that I've really enjoyed following is City DAO, based in Wyoming. They collectively raised enough funds to buy a 40-acre parcel of land that is collectively governed by its members, and they are now building out an entire city, and it is 100% legal. How, you might ask? Recently, Wyoming just passed a bill legally recognizing DAOs as LLCs, which gives them the opportunity to legally purchase and own land. How cool is that? A few other cool DAOs that I've stumbled upon on the internet, Web3Baddies, which is a DAO for girlies, boys, non-binary folks, and others in the space. I'm not actually a member of that DAO because they have a wait list, but I did sign up on the interest list and I do hope I can join. I follow a couple of the members as well as the founder on Twitter, and I love everything that they're sharing. Another cool DAO is Kernel, and Kernel isn't actually officially a DAO yet from what I understand, but I believe that they probably will become one, or maybe have the path to do so. They're another social learning DAO. It's free and you can basically start to understand different internet protocol for Web3, governance, tooling, things like that you want to learn as you get set up in the space. Another similar DAO to be is Rabbit Hole. And so Rabbit Hole tends to be focused on governance and tooling as well. And you actually get rewarded in crypto for your use of new decentralized apps, aka dApps. As well as more rewards as you learn. So we just covered a lot about what DAOs are and some of the cool ones in the space. And so I know already your next question is going to be, Angie, where do I find these DAOs? One, there's a really cool website called snapshot.org. It is a governance tool that DAOs use to enact voting abilities and tracking in their DAOs. And Snapshot actually keeps a running list of all the DAOs that use their platform. So you can see which DAOs exist, how active they are, what they're working on, who's in them, things like that. And you can start to see like, oh, is that a DAO I'd want to be involved in? Another really great way to find really cool DAOs, new or existing, is Twitter, okay? Twitter is the GOAT when it comes to Web3 spaces because everybody who's in Web3 is on Twitter and they're talking about it. So just go on Twitter, start following some buzzwords about the Web3 space, and you'll start seeing people talking about new DAOs, existing DAOs, places to join, things like that. It's also going to be on Twitter where you're going to be able to find the founders of these DAOs, the collectives and the actual members of them. You're going to find access to their Discord chats, which is like imperative to be in to be able to know more about the actual organization. And you're going to be able to stay up to date on the topic and the conversation. Once you start finding all these DAOs, the next thing you're going to start asking is like, well, how do I contribute? Maybe you have a running list of 5 or so that you really think are cool, but you don't know how to get started. So these are my tips on how to contribute to DAOs. One, I'm going to say lurk. Just start by lurking in the DAO. And so you might not have full access to the DAO as a non-member, but you will have access to their Discord channel as well as their Twitter. Start by lurking in their Discord and check out what the channels are, what people are talking about, what some of the archived information is. Also look on Twitter because people will often tweet what they need for help. 2, I'm going to say figure out your value. What is it that you want to do in this specific DAO or in DAOs in general? Are you a rockstar coder? Do you create amazing content? Are you a marketer? So I know for me, for example, I'm a community builder. So when I join these DAOs, I start by saying I'm a community builder, I have X years of experience, and that's what I want to do. And I figure out what they need. and if there's a match between me and that DAO. Which leads right into my third point, which is 3, introduce yourself. Once you've been lurking, give it a week or so of studying what's happening inside this Discord channel or the Twitter space, then introduce yourself. Every single Discord that exists has an intro me channel. It is a place for you to self-signal and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I'm excited about, and here's how I want to get involved. That's all you need to share, and the right people will find you. Again, you can always message that founding team, that founding core team, but just go ahead and introduce yourself, because there's a lot going on. Once you're in the channel, you'll see that. And this is a great way to flag for others. Number 4 is join the calls. Okay, so once you're in the Discord, and again, I keep saying the Discord because that is where the magic happens, okay? But once you're in that Discord channel, you're gonna wanna join any type of events that are happening for the public. So normally weekly, Discords will host like a weekly community call that is open for anybody in their Discord to join. That's where they talk about running business, new project proposals, help that they need, funding, things like that. And so again, if you're really eager to get started and you've done the lurking and you've introduced yourself and you've figured out exactly what your value is, your next step is to join that community call and let them know that you are serious about getting involved. And step 5 to contributing to DAOs is probably the most crucial step. You're gonna have to manage your time. DAOs can get incredibly time intensive so fast. And if you decide to work in multiple at once, let me tell you, they are working 24/7 because they have global participants all around the world, which means it never stops. So definitely carve out time in your schedule, whether it's morning, afternoon, night, or all of the above, where you can set aside an hour or two to actually contribute to the DAOs. Nothing is worse than volunteering for a bunch of things and then realizing you don't actually have the time to do it. These DAOs are moving fast, just like every startup does. And so they really want people who are committed. And again, you will be rewarded for the work that you give. That is my brief overview, semi-deep dive into DAOs in the Web3 space. If you think that you are ready to start getting involved with DAOs, I actually went ahead and created a small Discord channel for my Web3 Weirdos, for us to kind of get together, share resources, learn about new opportunities, and just follow the buzz of what's going on. So I'll go ahead and link that down below, and you are welcome to join it, and we'll start sharing our resources together. If you're not already following me on Twitter, I highly recommend it to stay up to date on these episodes, as well as what's going on in the Web3 space. I tend to retweet a lot of different things, as well as share some of my own learnings. So I am Angie I Don't Know on Twitter and Instagram. And again, I just recommend you follow me to stay updated. Thank you for joining me, Angie, in this series as I share what I'm learning in the Web3 space. If you enjoyed the video, you can help by liking this video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any drops. I also recommend that you share with any friends who are interested in the Web3 space but just don't know how to get started. Thanks for joining.